we've all made pretty like basic guides with 3D printers, and I know personally I didn't like really understand how it worked, and my design was like so simple that it didn't really show me too much about it, honestly. So here I have some examples of 3D printers at my school, and I use it actually in middle school. It looks kind of like it's just box in this room, and it was clear so you could see what was going on, which was kind of cool. And so the history of 3D printers, the idea was first formed in 1981, and then in 1984, the first stereolithography was made by Charles Hull. And basically, it used a polymer, and then it shined a UV laser at it, and then eventually that would make a plastic. And so, since then, there's been a lot of developments in 3D printing, especially in the medical community. For instance, in 1999, they made like the first like bio breakthrough. They like made bladder scaffolding, and then they like put cells with it, and they put it in someone. And since then, we've had kidneys, prosthetics. They've made actual blood vessels, which I think is pretty cool. And this diagram just kind of shows how it's not like you're building, like you don't like print out a kidney and put it in someone, because that would just be plastic. You just make a very basic component, and then you allow the cells to treat that as a body and like keep going with it. So how do they work? There's a material that you put in, and then it goes through a filament, and then it gets heated up, and then it like basically squirts it out a little in layers, and then once it dries, it goes on to the next layer. So it builds it up in layers, and it is all about the layers because they're so tiny. They're like 0.2 to 0.3 millimeters. And if you think about it, like in calculus, like it's kind of like an integral. As like the width of the rectangles gets smaller and smaller and smaller, the shape gets more smooth. So it's a lot like that. And it all starts with a model. As you can see, some of them are really complicated, but it basically the software and the 3D printer takes this model and then divides it up into tiny, tiny, tiny little slices. And the slices are so thin that when you have your actual object, you can't even really see them. And so you can make a lot of cool things with 3D printers, like decorations and like a Call of Duty bath nozzle for some reason. And like I think what's really cool is the cast, because you can still like scratch through there and like you can still like get it wet and everything. I think that's really, really, really cool. And you can also make more advanced things. Like they've made the first 3D printed car. It's called Irby, and it can go like 200 miles. Things can get really, really small. You can make 3D printed things that's no wider than the length of a hair. And they've actually made a plane. And at this point, you can actually make 3D printed objects in almost any material you want. You can make them in gold and silver, and you can like print like your own like engagement ring or something, which I think is very interesting. And like this company, you can actually, like I took a screenshot, you can like order those materials. And this is also super meta because in 2005, they made this 3D printer named Darwin, and Darwin actually makes more 3D printers. Like he prints his own parts to make more, which is just like robot liquor, like robots building robots. And so if you decided, wow, 3D printers are really cool, so how are you going to get one? So the prices have dropped over the years, like from when they first introduced. It's kind of like the original computer was millions of dollars. So now you can actually go on Amazon and find one for a couple $100. Both of these ones are from Amazon. And there's also industrial options, which are like more like $10,000, which isn't very practical, but they're huge. Like they're machines that you can walk into, and those are used by professionals in industry. And yeah, they're super expensive. You can't just like buy those online. And you also have to think about software. So like there are some softwares that you can get that are free and they can make really basic things. And then there's also more advanced options that will cost you like thousands of dollars each year just to use, because you're making things that are so intricate or so small or so big. So it all depends on that. And so when you choose materials, you can go with all these different options. I want to point out like the flexible one is really cool. This one, the white stuff, is material that's dissolvable in water, which I think is super interesting. And you can also choose like wood and metal kind of fillings. And so now I want to ask you guys what you think like the future of 3D printing is. Yes.
I have a pancake 3D printer
Really?
with me on campus, yeah.
Does it like taste good?
Yeah.
So you think in the future, like we're gonna be able to print all of our food, whatever we want? Do you think we're gonna be able to make like human hearts and just like put them in humans?
We're making pancakes, so.
Make pancakes, that's so closer. So I mean, I feel like a lot of people have different like views on what 3D printing can do and like what it will eventually do. Like I said, the future could be like printing steaks. Does anyone else think that you're gonna be able to like print all your food at home? Yeah.
I'm tired. I feel like
What about like printing like body parts?
that's probably.
You think?
What do you think? Steak though, it's like you have to have like
So nothing can
Everything's-
replace the original?
Yeah, I feel like nothing can replace the actual.
Yeah, so there's a lot of debate on like what's features gonna hold. But yeah, that's my presentation, thank you.